Imagine, if you can, standing on a vast, endless plain of ice. But this isn't, the Antarctic, and it's certainly not some kind of winter wonderland.
No, not at all.
It's a frozen landscape that actively hates you. The cold isn't just a temperature, it's a physical assault, a pressure that feels like it's trying to crush your skull.
It's palpable.
And the wind. The wind doesn't just howl in the way we think of a storm, it screams. It literally sounds like the collective shriek of the damned, because, well, that's exactly what it is.
It is a terrifying image to start with, isn't it? But it sets the stakes immediately.
Absolutely. And just to really paint the picture here, because the source material we're covering today is incredibly visceral. Imagine that as you stand there, you are bleeding from your ears.
Right.
You're vomiting, not from illness, but from the sheer trauma of having your body ripped from one dimension and just slammed into another. And the moment that vomit leaves your lips,
It freezes solid.
it freezes solid, clatters onto the ice like little stones.
That is the reality of Chemonia, the 8th layer of the 9 hells.
And cutting through this filthy frozen ice are rivers of literal hellfire. So the smell isn't crisp winter air, it's charred flesh and brimstone. And looking down at you, standing on a ridge with a look of absolute predatory amusement, is an archdevil.
A being of immense power.
A being of immense power who just so happens to be the father of your best friend.
Talk about a complicated family dynamic.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to explore some truly dark territory. We're unpacking Shadowstorm, the Twilight War, specifically Book 2 by Paul S. Kemp. We have a stack of excerpts here that are, frankly, intense.
They really are.
We're going to take a journey that starts in the deepest, most hopeless pits of hell and travels all the way to the sunny, perfumed, and treacherous balconies of political intrigue in the nation of Sembia.
It's a study in contrast, but as we dig into the text, you'll see that these two worlds, they really mirror each other perfectly. On one hand, you have the physical horror of Chemonia, gore, fire, ice.
Right.
On the other, you have the polite, bureaucratic horror of political manipulation. Our mission for this deep dive is to connect those dots. We're going to unpack a web of divine bargains, religious schisms, and a recurring theme that keeps popping up in these pages: the sins of the father.
And the cost of power. That is a huge one here. What are you willing to pay? What are you willing to eat? And yes, I mean that quite literally, but we will get to the soul eating in a bit.
We certainly will. It's pretty unavoidable with this text.
So let's set the stage properly for everyone. We're in the Forgotten Realms universe. We have 3 main characters who are at this moment stranded in Kaldea. We have Erevis Cale, who's known as the First of the Five, a shade and a servant of the God Mask. We have Drask Riven, an assassin who is usually the most cynical, unshakable guy in the room. And we have Magadon.
And Magadon is really the pivot point for this entire first section of our discussion.
He is. So let's jump right into part 1. The descent into Kechia. The text opens with what I can only describe as a complete sensory overload. It says, "The freezing wind howls despair." It's interesting that the author chooses the word despair rather than just cold or pain.
That's a crucial distinction. We need to look at the physiology of what's happening to them. Planar travel. They haven't just walked through a door or taken a portal.
Right, this isn't a casual stroll.
No. They have been ripped from one reality to another, and Kechia is a plane of existence that is fundamentally hostile to mortal life. The text mentions that Kalen and Riven are physically wrecked. They're clutching their heads, groaning. Blood is leaking from their ears and freezing in these crimson streaks on their jaws.
So it's the plane itself that's attacking them.
Exactly. The plane itself is rejecting them. It's like trying to breathe water.
It's like deep-sea diving without a pressurized suit. The environment wants them dead. And amidst this physical agony, Magadon has a realization that's way worse than the cold. He has this internal monologue where he thinks, "I am truly my father's son."
And that is the core conflict for Magadon right there. To understand the gravity of that thought, we have to look at who Magadon is. He's a tiefling, yes, which means he has fiendish heritage.
Okay.
But he isn't just some random tiefling with a great-great-grandfather who was a minor devil. He is the direct biological son of Mephistopheles, the Lord of Chemonia, the archdevil ruling the very ground they're standing on.
Talk about a heavy legacy to carry around.
Exactly. And he feels it. The text says he feels the darkness loose in him. We get this terrifying glimpse into his psyche. He says he feels a duality. The man part of him is disgusted by the smell of brimstone and the screams.
Of course.
But the devil part of him, the devil within him, feels glee. It feels like it's finally home. He is literally being torn between his biology and his morality.
That concept of glee is so disturbing. It's like an addiction he never asked for, something primal rising up in him.
It is.
And that fear isn't just internal to Magadon, is it? It's reflected in his friends.
I really want to talk about Riven here. Trasek Riven. Riven is a fascinating character study in this scene, a perfect barometer for how bad things are.
He is. Usually, Riven is described as having a habitual sneer. He's a cold-blooded killer. He's the guy who would crack a dry joke while, stabbing someone.
Absolutely. The consummate professional assassin.
But here, the text says he is visibly terrified. His eye is twitching. He's frantic. He's looking for any way out.
And that's how the author establishes the stakes so effectively. When the fearless character is shaking, you, the reader, know the situation is absolutely dire. Riven knows they're outmatched on a level he's never experienced.
He says, "It's only ground, Cale. We can leave it." He's trying to rationalize a way out. He wants to run. But Cale knows they can't.
Right.
So why can't they just leave? What's stopping them?
Because they're completely powerless. Cale is a servant of Mask, the Lord of Shadows. Usually, he can manipulate darkness, travel through shadows, hide in them. That's his whole toolkit. But here, he says, the shadows do not answer me here. His connection to his god is dampened, maybe even severed. Mask isn't the Lord of Canona. Mephistopheles is. They are in enemy territory with no backup and, as we'll see, no weapons that really work.
And then the man himself, well, the devil himself appears. Mephistopheles. The description here is haunting. He's not a monstrous, ugly beast with fangs and slime, which is sort of what I usually picture when I hear Lord of Hell.
No, and that's what makes him so much more effective as a villain. He's described as a perfect predator, beautiful and terrible.
Beautiful and terrible. That's such a powerful phrase.
It is. And the visual parallel is striking. The text says he has coal-colored hair, white eyes, and elegant horns.
Wait, that sounds familiar.
Exactly. The text makes a specific point to say that Magadon has the exact same features. Mephistopheles looks like Magadon writ large. It really drives home that idea that Magadon is looking at his potential future. He's looking at what he could become if he gives in to that glee.
Wow. It's like looking into a funhouse mirror that shows you the worst possible version of yourself.
Precisely. And the power dynamic is immediate. Mephistopheles doesn't attack them. He doesn't rush them.
No, he plays with them.
He plays with them. He radiates heat and smoke. He lands on the ice, and you can just imagine the ice hissing beneath his feet. He mocks Cale. Cale tries to be brave. He's trying to keep his composure, and he's thinking back, remembering he once stabbed his own god, Mask. He's trying to draw strength from that memory.
Like, I've faced a god before.
Right. And Mephistopheles leans in and whispers, "I am not your god."
Chilling. That's such a chilling line.
Yeah.
It implies that all the rules of engagement Cale is used to dealing with his own deity, where there's maybe some mutual respect or at least a contract, they just don't apply here.
None of them. Mephistopheles is an apex predator in his own domain, and he proves it. He points out a tattoo on Magadon's bicep, a red hand in flames.
Okay.
And as he points to it, it starts to burn. It's a brand. It signals ownership. He is treating Magadon not as a son, and certainly not as an enemy combatant, but as livestock, as property.
But despite this, despite being completely outgunned and terrified, Cale and Riven do something that I think defines their characters for the rest of the series.
It's a key moment.
They stand up. Riven, who was shaking just a moment ago, draws his blades and says, "I don't go down without giving what I've got."
It's a moment of profound loyalty, isn't it? They form a literal human and shade shield in front of Magadon.
And Cale actually physically removes the archdevil's hand from his shoulder.
He does.
Wait, he touches him. He just pushes his hand off.
He does. Mephistopheles puts a hand on Cale, probably patronizingly, and Cale just pushes it off. That is an act of insane defiance. In a world where touching an archdevil usually means instant, agonizing death, Cale asserts his bodily autonomy.
That is incredibly brave and goes about as well as you'd expect.
Pretty much. Cale tries to use his sword, Weave Shear. Now, listeners need to know, Weave Shear is a powerful magical weapon. It's not just a sharp piece of metal. It can cut through magic itself.
Right, it's a serious piece of hardware.
And Mephistopheles just catches the blade in his bare hand.
in his hand.
In his bare hand. The blade turns red hot, Cale's hand blisters from the heat transferring through the hilt, and the devil drops it like it's a mildly interesting toy.
It just demonstrates the absolute futility of physical combat here.
Completely. And then he turns to Riven. Yes. And with Riven, it's even more insulting. Mephistopheles scrapes a fingernail down Riven's chest. Just a casual gesture, like checking the quality of fabric. And it cuts clean through his armor and draws blood. Effortlessly.
Just a flick of a finger.
And then he tells Riven, I think that you could have been one of mine.
Oof. That's an insult and a compliment, all wrapped up in a package of pure evil.
It cuts right to the core of Riven's character, doesn't it? Riven is ruthless, he's efficient, he's cold. Mephistopheles recognizes that kinship. He sees the killer in him.
But Riven rejects it.
He rejects it. He stands with his friends. He might have the soul of a killer, but he uses it to protect his pack.
So fighting is off the table. They can't win. They can't run.
Yeah.
This leads us to part 2, the unthinkable bargain. This is the climax of the scene, and honestly, it's one of the most gruesome things I've read in a long time.
It is graphic, but the violence serves a specific narrative purpose. It isn't just gore for gore's sake. It establishes the absolute, unquestionable dominance of the archdevil.
So it starts with Magadon.
Right.
He tries to be the hero. He offers himself up. He says, take me, let them go.
The standard hero move. I'm the one you want.
Exactly.
Right. But Mephistopheles just rejects it outright. He says he is spoken for, shade, body, and soul. He claims Magadon is already his property. He doesn't need to bargain for what he already owns. And to prove his point...
Well, this is the hard part.
Yeah, this is the part where listeners might want to brace themselves. He doesn't just say no. He physically dismantles Magadon in front of his friends.
He rips him in half.
Something like that. He tears him apart.
He literally rips him in two at the waist. The text describes the gore, the steam rising from the hot blood on the frozen ice. It's sudden and it's absolute. And that's not even the worst part.
No, it gets worse.
He reaches into the gore. I still can't believe I'm describing this. And he pulls out Magadon's soul. It's described as a glowing silver form. A little ghostly image of Magadon squirming in his hand.
This is a crucial piece of lore visualization. The soul is tangible here. It's a physical object. Mephistopheles holds Magadon's very essence in his hand, and this is where the bargain in hell takes on a very, very literal meaning. Mephistopheles bites the soul in half.
He eats half the soul, just snacks on it like it's an apple.
He swallows it, and then, and this is so crucial for the plot going forward, he casts the remaining half soul back into the gore on the ice. He uses his magic to stitch the body back together. Magadon comes back to life, but he is fundamentally broken. He is now a man with half a soul.
The scream described in the text is as it dwarfed the wails of the damned. The psychological trauma of that, being torn apart, having part of your eternal essence eaten by your own father, and then being forced back into your body. I can't even imagine.
It effectively neutralizes Magadon as a threat and turns him into the ultimate hostage. Mephistopheles is saying, I have part of you. You are never whole unless I say so. You will always belong to me.
While this horror show is happening, Cale has a realization. He has to do something drastic. He can't fight, can't save Magadon physically, so he opens his mouth and offers a trade.
He plays the only card he has left. It's not a sword, it's not magic. It's information and a promise. He blurts out a name. Kesrel.
Okay, so who is Kesrel?
The text implies he's an ancient figure, someone associated with the first thief. More importantly, Cale offers to retrieve something Kesrel has, the divine essence of your god, stolen by the first thief.
So he's offering Mephistopheles a chunk of stolen god power.
Specifically, the essence of Mask, the Shadow Lord. Now, we have to pause on the theology here because this is huge. Mephistopheles is an archdevil. What do archdevils want more than anything?
To become gods.
To become gods. Obtaining a piece of divine essence, essentially a battery pack of godhood, would be the ultimate price for him. It's an offer he can't refuse.
But here is the catch, and it is a massive, massive catch. Cale admits in his internal monologue that he has already promised this exact same essence to his own god Mask.
Exactly. He is double-dealing an archdevil and a deity. It is the definition of a high-stakes gamble. He is promising the same nuclear weapon to two different and very hostile superpowers.
That sounds like a recipe for getting smited. Or eaten. Or both.
Oh. If he fails, or if either of them finds out before he delivers, the consequences are eternal torment. Mephistopheles is smart, though. He's not an idiot. He calls him out on it. He asks, have you not already promised it to another?
He knows.
He suspects he's testing him, and Cale has to admit it. He says something like, I have made a promise to another, but I will keep my promise to you nevertheless.
The sheer nerve of that.
Incredible. And Mephistopheles accepts, but he keeps an insurance policy. He says he will keep half of Magadon, the part he ate, as collateral.
Yep.
If Cale reneges on the deal, he'll destroy the part of the soul he has and come for the rest.
He says, bring me what you've promised, and I shall vomit him up.
What a lovely image.
Vomit him up. It's so visceral and demeaning.
It creates a ticking clock. Cale isn't just on a quest for a magical MacGuffin now. He is on a quest to make his friend whole. Every single moment they waste, Magadon is walking around with a mutilated soul, a part of him trapped inside an archdevil.
Before he sends them away, though, Mephistopheles does something interesting. He grabs a book from Cale's pack. A black book.
Yes, the book Cale took from the Fane of Shadows. This is important. Mephistopheles flips through it and notes that it is rewriting itself from back to front.
That is such a cool, creepy detail. A book that writes history in reverse. Or changes reality.
The text describes precise purple script appearing on the pages as he holds it. Mephistopheles calls it an interesting toy and says, interesting times lay ahead. This book is clearly a central artifact for the entire series. It suggests that reality is being altered in real time.
And we're going to see this book pop up again very soon.
Oh, yes.
And with that, he kicks them out. But he gives them one final chilling piece of advice. Remember always that I am a liar.
That line is just brilliant. It completely destabilizes the entire interaction. Did he really eat the soul? Can he really give it back? Will he actually let them go if they pay? Or is this all just an elaborate game to him?
He makes the contract worthless.
By admitting he's a liar, he makes it impossible for Cale to trust the bargain, but Cale has absolutely no choice but to try and fulfill it anyway. It's pure psychological warfare.
So with a lurch of the stomach, the scene shifts. We leave the ice and the blood and the screaming wind, and suddenly, silence. Sunlight.
A complete change of pace.
We're on a sunny balcony. There are dried currants in a bowl. There's wine. There are gentle breezes.
Welcome to Sembia, specifically the capital city of Ordolin.
Talk about a tonal whiplash. My brain had a reboot reading this section.
And that's entirely intentional. The author wants to jar you. We move from the chaotic, elemental evil of hell to the ordered, civilized evil of Sembia. We are introduced to the antagonists of the political plot, Marabita Selkirk and her niece, Aliril.
As you read this, you realize the evil here is just as palpable. It's just cleaner, more polite.
Exactly. Mirabeta is the overmistress and war regent. She's running the show, the public face of power. And Aliril is something else entirely.
She's the real power behind the throne, it feels like.
In many ways, yes. Aliril is a priestess of Shar. Now, for those who don't know the pantheon, Shar is the goddess of darkness, loss, and night. So while Mirabeta is playing the political game armies, taxes, borders, Aliril is playing the metaphysical game, and she is, for lack of a better word, an addict.
Yeah, let's talk about the mind dust. The text describes her sitting on the floor of her room, naked, snorting this purple powder called mind dust.
To hallucinate and commune with shadows.
Right, it's a conduit for her. She uses it to expand her consciousness, to hear the whisper of the void. She's trying to get information directly from her goddess. It's a very gritty, almost modern depiction of drug use, but mixed with this high fantasy magic.
And she has a massive shadow mastiff named Keffel, a literal monster dog made of shadow, just chilling in her room with her.
And Keffel talks to her.
Yeah.
Telepathically.
He does, and he seems almost pitying of her, doesn't he? Aliril is desperate. She's frustrated. She wants to know about the book to be made whole.
There's that book again.
Exactly. The connection is made. In hell, Cale has the book that is rewriting itself. In Ordolin, Aliril is desperately searching for the book to be made whole. These are almost certainly the same object, or at the very least, related artifacts.
And she wants it to bring about something called the Shadowstorm.
Which sounds like bad news for everyone who enjoys, sunlight and not being consumed by darkness.
Right.
It is. She believes the Shadowstorm will darken the world and she'll get a seat at the right hand of the Divine One. But right now, she's frustrated because the shadows and her goddess are keeping secrets from her.
So while she's tripping on mind dust and getting cryptic answers, real-world events are crashing in. A messenger arrives. And it is huge news. The city of Yon, a major port, has been attacked.
And not by an army, by a kraken.
A kraken of enormous size.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think about the scale of that. It rose from the sea, destroyed the entire docks, crushed ships like they were toys, and killed thousands of people. This is a natural disaster-level event, but weaponized.
And at the exact same time, a rebel leader named Endrin Corinthal breaks out of a high-security prison called the Hole.
That timing seems little too perfect.
It's not a coincidence. Mirabeda and Elirul realize this immediately. Someone coordinated a Kraken attack, a magically summoned beast of immense power, as a distraction to break out a single political prisoner.
Now, a normal person, a normal leader, might think, oh no, a Kraken. Thousands are dead. We need to send aid and figure out what happened. How do Mirabeda and Elirul react?
They spin it. This is where the politics of shadow really comes in. Mirabeda is ice cold. She says Endrin's escape is annoying, but the Kraken attack, that's an opportunity.
She actually calls it a good thing, effectively. She says she can play the Avenger. She can use this.
Right. They immediately start discussing who to blame. They know the rebels in the cities of Serb and Selgant didn't do it. Your average rebel cell doesn't generally have the capacity to summon Krakens from the abyss.
Yeah, that's a few levels above what they can manage.
But the truth doesn't matter to them at all. Mirabeda realizes she can pin the Kraken attack on the rebels. She can go to the public and say, look what these terrorists did to the innocent people of Yuhan.
It allows her to justify total war. It gives her the perfect casus belli.
Precisely. She can use the tragedy to whip the public into a patriotic, vengeful frenzy. It's cynical, it's manipulative, and it's incredibly modern in its understanding of propaganda. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
And Elirul, her niece, even suggests they should embellish the details to incite the populace further, make it even worse than it was.
It shows that for them, the truth is just a raw material. It's clay to be shaped into a weapon. The actual suffering of the people in Yuhan means nothing to them beyond its utility.
This leads us to part 4, the ruthlessness of power. Because they don't just plan a war, they immediately plan a massacre. They decide to target the city of Soerb, specifically to crush the Corinthal family.
This is where the mask of the civilized politician slips completely off, especially for Elirul. They're discussing Abelard Corinthal, Endrin's brother. And Mirabeda notes that Abelard has a young son who was born dumb, which likely means he's mute or perhaps has a developmental disability.
And Elirul's reaction to this piece of information is it's disturbing on a whole other level.
It's vile.
Yeah.
She internally fantasizes about murdering this innocent boy personally, and not for strategy really, but to offer the father subsequent grief as a sacrifice to her goddess, Shar.
She gets a thrill of delight at the thought.
Yeah.
That is pure, unadulterated villainy. There's no gray area there.
None at all. And it highlights the difference between the two women. Mirabeda is ruthless for power. She wants to rule Sembia. She is, if we want to use gaming terms, lawful evil. She wants order, her order. Elirul is ruthless for devotion. She wants to feed her dark goddess with pain and sorrow. She's much closer to chaotic evil. Both are incredibly dangerous, but Elirul is unpredictable in a way Mirabeda isn't.
We also get a glimpse of Mirabeda's management style with her chamberlain, a man named Tourist. This poor guy. He has a birth defect where his eyes look in 2 different directions at once.
The text mentions this is a defect common to the inbred servants of the Selkirk family line, which just paints this picture of a decaying, corrupt aristocracy.
And Elirul recalls that Mirabeda flogged him once, nearly to death, just for looking her in the face.
And his screams amused Elirul. These are people who view those beneath them as less than nothing, as objects. Mirabeda views incompetence as a capital offense. She isn't just a ruler, she is a tyrant in every sense of the word. She's transforming Sembia into a police state, using her soldiers, the helms, to control every movement.
So we have the horrors of hell and the cold, bureaucratic horrors of a police state. It really feels like there's no escape, no good place in this world.
There isn't much light.
But maybe there's a flicker of it. That brings us to part 5, the schism of faith. We move from the dark, plotting rooms of Ordlin to the Abbey of Dawn.
And finally, some sunlight. The abbey is described beautifully. Pear orchards, fields of barley, sparkling limestone walls. It's a temple to Lathander, the Morninglord, the god of the dawn.
It sounds like a sanctuary, but appearances are deceiving here too.
Oh, very much so. The physical beauty hides a spiritual rot. We meet Abelard Corinthal, the father of the boy Elirul wants to kill. He's a former member of the Order of the Aster, a holy warrior, a paladin, essentially, but he's been banished.
So why was a holy warrior banished from his own church?
Because of a heresy, the risen sun heresy. And this is a fascinating theological conflict that mirrors the political one we just discussed. It's a conflict about action versus inaction.
Okay, break it down for us. What is the risen sun heresy?
So the source explains that a faction within the church, which is now the dominant faction, believes an event called the Deliverance is imminent. They believe Lathander, their god, is going to transform into Amaunator, an ancient, much harsher sun god.
Okay, so they're waiting for a divine glow-up.
Essentially. But the problem is how they are waiting. The heretics have become completely passive. They're just focusing on conversion and prayer, waiting for their God to come down and fix the entire world for them. They believe the risen sun is beautiful, and everything will be solved if they just have enough faith.
It sounds like a convenient excuse to do nothing while the world burns around them.
That is exactly how Abelard sees it. Abelard is a traditionalist. He believes in works. He believes you have to actively fight the darkness. You don't wait for a miracle. You are the miracle by doing good deeds and protecting the innocent.
So you have the thoughts and prayers faction versus the boots on the ground faction.
That is a very apt way to put it. The heretics have retreated into mysticism because the reality of the war, of Mirabeta's rise, is too scary to confront. Abelard is trying to face that reality head-on.
So Abelard and his friend Reg arrive at the Abbey gates. And the guards, Beld and Doc, they clearly respect Abelard. They don't want to stop him. They remember him as a hero. But they're following orders from the new abbot.
And then there's Asran, the priest who meets them at the gate.
I hated this guy immediately.
Oh, yeah. Dawnbringer Asran. He's described as fat, insincere, wearing these gaudy red and yellow robes. And he uses the heresy as a code, as a password. He says to Abelard, "The risen sun is beautiful, is it not?"
It's a challenge. He's testing him, checking if Abelard is converted to their way of thinking.
It's a shibboleth, a test of loyalty. If Abelard agrees, he might be let in. If he disagrees, he's an enemy of the new church.
And Abelard basically tells him, I'm here to see the manager. He just blows past the pleasantries and demands to see Abbot Denril.
Abelard knows he's walking into a trap. He knows this new abbot, Denril, is a politician as much as a priest. Reg, his companion, warns him that they might just arrest him and hand him over to Mirabeta. Remember, Abelard is a Corinthal. His brother just broke out of prison. Mirabeta wants his entire family dead.
So why go in? Why risk it? It seems like suicide.
Because, as Abelard says, our brethren are within that abbey. He refuses to give up on them. He believes they can still be saved from this delusion.
It contrasts perfectly with Cale and Riven in hell, doesn't it? Just as they refuse to abandon Magadon to the devil, Abelard refuses to abandon his fellow priests to their own misguided inaction.
Exactly. He is trying to save them from themselves, while the armies of Sembia represent the external threat that is marching to destroy them all, whether they pray for deliverance or not.
So we have these three distinct, powerful threads. We have Cale, Riven, and half of Magadon leaving hell with an impossible mission to steal from a god for a devil. We have Aliril and Mirabeta manufacturing a war and hunting for a magic book to bring about eternal night. And we have Abelard, a man of faith, trying to wake up his own church before the slaughter begins.
And they're all on a collision course. The timelines are converging, and the location is Surerb, which is near the Abbey of Dawn.
Let's spend some time connecting the dots here, because there are so many. The book seems to be the linchpin for everything.
It is the narrative glue. In hell, Cale has a black book that is rewriting itself from back to front. Mephistopheles himself identified it as something powerful and reality-altering.
And in Ordolin.
In Ordolin, Aliril is desperate to find the book to be made whole. It is highly, highly probable that Cale possesses the very thing Aliril needs to unleash her Shadowstorm.
And Cale has absolutely no idea Aliril is looking for it, or even that she exists.
No idea. He's completely focused on his bargain with Mephistopheles, on saving Magadon's soul. He doesn't know that the object in his pack is the key to a world war on the surface.
I also want to talk about the father theme. It's not subtle, but it's everywhere.
It's the central pillar of this entire section of the novel. Just look at the parallels. You have Mephistopheles, the literal abusive, consuming father. He doesn't nurture his son. He devours him. He literally eats his son's soul. He views his son as property. He represents the ultimate corruption of fatherhood.
Then you have Abelard.
Abelard is the counter-argument. He is a father who is desperately trying to protect his son, the mute boy, from the wolves of the world. He's willing to walk into a trap not just for his biological son, but to save his brethren in the church who are like sons to him. He represents protective, self-sacrificing fatherhood.
And even Cale fits into this in a weird way. Mephistopheles tries to connect with him on that level. He tells Cale, so do all fathers their sons. He claims to know Cale because Cale hates himself.
Mephistopheles tries to adopt Cale in a twisted way. He tells him, you could have been one of mine. He tries to be the father figure to Riven too. He's trying to assert this patriarchal dominance over everyone he meets.
So the struggle in this book is about breaking free.
It's about breaking free from the control of these overpowering fathers, whether they're archdevils, corrupt abbots like Denril who demand blind faith, or even political matriarchs like Mirabeda who act with the same possessive authority.
It's intense stuff, and the human cost is already so high just in these few chapters. Magadon is walking around with half a soul.
The city of Yuhan is in ruins. Thousands are dead.
And an innocent child is being targeted for a ritual sacrifice just to fuel a dark goddess.
And that's what makes the stakes feel so real. It's not some abstract save the world plot. It's save this specific person. Save Magadon from his father. Save Abelar's son from Illyral. The grand politics and the personal tragedy are woven together so tightly.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one last thing from the source material. There's a mention of Cormyr and Cormanthur, the neighboring nations, staying neutral in the coming Symbian conflict. Mirabeda is thrilled about this.
She is. She's played the diplomatic game perfectly. She has convinced them it's an internal Symbian affair and they should stay out of it. She's isolated her enemies.
It raises a provocative question, then, about neutrality. In a world like this, where you have actual archdevils and reality-bending magic and shadowstorms involved, is neutrality just another word for complicity?
That seems to be the argument the text is making, doesn't it? The Risen Sun heretics are neutral. They're just waiting for their god to act. And they are completely useless, about to be wiped out.
Right.
The neighboring kingdoms are neutral, and by doing so, they are allowing a tyrant to rise and consolidate power on their border. The heroes of the story, Cale, Riven, Abelar, are the ones who refuse to be neutral. They take a side, even when it costs them everything. Even when it means defying their own gods or bargaining with devils.
I don't go down without giving what I've got.
Exactly. That's the ethos of the protagonists in this world. You have to act. You have to fight. Standing aside is the same as choosing the side of the oppressor.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive into Shadowstorm. It's a grim ride, for sure, but a fascinating one. We've got devils, politics, and the kind of friendships that survive literal hellfire.
There is certainly plenty to mull over. It really challenges you to think about where you would stand when the wind starts screaming.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Keep your souls intact. Watch out for black books that write themselves, and we'll catch you on the next dive.